Hi guys, Christy from Worldschool and Chronicles. I thought that I would talk about how to get started with world schooling. A lot of people find this daunting and it really doesn't need to be. So, first of all, you kind of need to think about what your plan is. Do you want to live in a converted bus? Do you want to live in a motorhome? Do you want a backpack? Everybody has a dream. So think about what your dream is and maybe jot that down. That's up to you. But then you really need to think about what steps you need to take to make that dream happen. So make a list. I'm a list maker. So make a list of items that you need to do. So for instance, if you're a single parent, you might need consent from the other parent. You might need to change your custody order so that you have sole custody and the right to travel and get passports without his consent if he's not willing to consent. You may need to get passports for your kids and yourself. You may need to, I don't know, you need to downsize all your things. So you've got this list, and now you can make small attainable goals to reach your goal. So for instance, okay, this month I'm going to downsize 40 bags of stuff, and I'm going to get these 2 kids passports, and then next year or next month I'll get my passport. And then things like applying for court orders or getting getting a travel letter, things like that. The other thing you need to think about is financially, how are you going to fund this? So if you don't already have work online or skills that you can use on the road, then maybe you need to start working on those, taking some courses, or you need to start thinking outside the box on how you can make some money. In the meantime, you can start selling some of your stuff. You could take on another job, collect recyclables if that's an option of taking your recyclables and getting cash. Things like that. Every little bit adds up. So for me, what I do is I pay my bills online, and then I allot myself a certain amount for food and other things in cash. And I take out that cash, and then at the end of the month, all the money that's left over goes into a jar for travel. Think about as well how you want to educate your children while you're on the road. Do you want to unschool? Do you want to use curriculum? And part of your travel plan will also indicate what your education plan is going to be, because if you're backpacking around, let's say, Europe and Southeast Asia, it might be difficult to use a curriculum unless it's an online curriculum, because packing all those books and carrying them with you is going to be a bit ridiculous. So that's an option. As well, you also need to think about how often you plan to move around, and if you're staying in your own home country, as in terms of homeschooling your kids. Because if you're staying in your own home country, then you can just get a school board in your province or your state or whatever the requirements are, and you can just have an address there for residency through a friend or a relative, and you can homeschool that way. But if you're traveling worldwide and you're not planning on settling down in one place, then maybe you don't want to register anywhere and you just want to go. That's an option as well. So that's kind of my thing for that. And everybody has what ifs and fears and all of that. So a big part of this is overcoming your fears and the what ifs. Everybody says, well, what if something bad happens? What if you get sick? What if? There's so many what ifs, but I always like to think, what if it works? What if it's fabulous? What if we really love it, you know? And the other thing is if it doesn't work out, you can always come back. You can always come back and resume your life wherever you're from. So it shouldn't be a whole bunch of what ifs and fears and that kind of thing. And the other thing is a lot of people are saying, oh, but there was attacks in France, and there was bombings in London, and there was this, and there was that, and there's war in Syria, so we shouldn't go. That's not everywhere, And a lot of that is the media with fear-mongering. I personally won't go to Syria because a lot of Syrians won't even be in Syria. However, that's not to say that I won't go to France, or I won't go to London, or I won't go to Jordan, because it can be safe as long as you use a little bit of precautions and that kind of thing. So really, you don't need to be living in fear all the time. And maybe to overcome some of those fears, you could do little world schooling trips from your home. So for instance, if you live in the States or Canada, you know, if you're afraid of traveling alone with your kids, for example, how they're going to behave, how they're going to whatever. If you're in the States, for example, look online on Skyscanner, check from your home state and put in everywhere for a destination, and it will give you the lowest prices. So from that you can check and it'll tell you the lowest prices to whatever state. And let's say you find a ticket for $50 to a state or two over. So you take everybody and you go for even a weekend, you know. But that gives you a little bit of confidence that you can travel on your own with your kids, and you can be in destinations that you've never been, and you can succeed. So do little trips in order to start. So, and it will also help you with finding excellent airfare, finding cheap accommodation, finding free food, free activities, all that kind of stuff. Google is your friend, and you'll really learn how to use that kind of stuff, and as well as some of the travel hacks that I'll talk about in an upcoming vlog. But at this point, planning. So plan, you can plan, do everything, make a vision board, get your family on board. A lot of people say that they don't want to do this because their kids will miss their friends, they'll miss their school, they'll miss all of this kind of stuff. My older kids, we left when they were 10 and 12. And they had already always been homeschooled, but we left when they were 10 and 12, and they really enjoyed it. They stayed in contact with their friends through Facebook and WhatsApp and videos and video chat and that kind of thing, and sending pictures and sending postcards and all of that. And when we came back and they got to see their friends, they were really happy, but they were also really happy that they had all the great experiences that we've done. So I say, don't let fear stop you, and do a little bit of planning, but don't overplan, because if you overplan and then your next thing is well, we won't have enough money. But it doesn't really have to cost a lot. I bought a bus for $1,000. I converted it for maybe another $1,000. It wasn't very much, and then we hit the road, you know. We've bought tickets to go to another country and had $300 left over for the rest of the month. So it can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done. And it doesn't have to cost a lot. You don't need a lot of money to World School. You need a lot of passion, you need a lot of guts, and you need a little bit of craziness. I've got all three. But your kids and you will grow so much from this experience. You will experience so many things, and some of them won't be good, but a lot of them will be great. And the ones that aren't good, you learn from them, and you learn what to do next time, you know. So for instance, one time I booked a hotel on my Visa debit card, and they didn't take the fee off, and I didn't realize that they didn't take the fee off. And when we got there was no hotel for me, because I didn't have the cash to pay for it. And so I had to quickly call my bank and ask them to transfer money from a GIC that I had and stuff like that to put into my account, and then I could do this. But it didn't stop me. For a little bit I was frazzled and stressed and whatnot, but we stayed positive, we worked through it, and we ended up staying, and we had an awesome experience speaking with other families who were not homeschoolers, but who were in difficult situations living in a hotel or motel. And we got to experience what they're going through, and they got to experience what we're going through, and it was such a great experience. And we still talk about that trip today. So make a plan, you know, make some lists, do some small attainable goal setting, and attain those goals, and make a plan for how you're going to hit the road. Thanks again. See you next time.